Welcome to my private alley. I'm Christian Yorke's virtual self and I am looking forward to reading you an extract from the exciting novel, Modern Trials. Here we meet two nasty young hooligans on a night out that ends in bloodshed. I hope that you enjoy it. I ain't gonna tell you again, Daryl. Get the rag and wipe me window, I can't see fuck all. Treacle crunched the gears and the filthy diesel chugged harder. Shut it, Treacle, your rag is full of shit. Like this van. Daryl's frown loosened as Treacle swung a full-bodied hook at him and the antique Bedford launched up the curb to a backing of crashing tools. Hey, Treacle, get off the pavement already. In reply, Treacle trumped triumphantly. Daryl breathed through his mouth, hastily winding down the window. As Treacle screeched like an ape, Daryl stopped retching enough to say, "Now I know what rhino turd smells of. Please get this shit heap off the bleeding pavement." "What? I can't see fuck all, mate, ain't you listening?" explained the ape, thumping the roof. "There's a fucking lamp post, you dick," thrilled Daryl at a frequency only partially audible to humans. "Eh? And an old bloke. Mate. For fuck's sake, ain't you seen the old wanker? Got him in my sights. Let's spill some old blood." The boys spent many nights cruising for pussy round the streets of Deadworth in Treacle's van. The very youngest girls sometimes seemed impressed by two timbered-up skinheads in a rascal. It was quiet tonight though, for a Saturday. Daryl opened another Carlsberg as they scorched past the old man, hoping that his pal would kill the codger so he'd have something to tell Luke and the soldiers. "Fucking nice one, Treacle. I think you got him a bit," screamed Daryl, looking back out of the window. To mark the moment he frothed up his lager like a Grand Prix winner. "Don't waste it, you cunt," shouted Treacle, sucking his fifth can and blindly directing his van back onto the road. He turned the radio up. Barry sang "Boys Keep Swinging," and Treacle tapped the steering wheel thoughtfully. "Look. He's giving us the finger. Dirty old tosspot. We should fuck him up, Treacle," suggested Daryl, squeezing his privates. He felt elated and devastated because despite the excitement he knew that soon Treacle would be too pissed to see, which would mean going back to his flat. Since the Chelsea days that meant cracking one off under the sheets, his mum's ear only inches distant behind the thin partition. He hated the thought of her ear wigging his terrible moans, or the dull sobs that followed. They proceeded in silence for a few minutes, both enjoying the sweet smell of lamb pass and the eaten early air in the dark payload amongst power tools and an old lawnmower. Daryl supped his beer, watching Treacle pat his crown after someone said he was going bald. Then he lurched forward and whispered, "Hey Treacle, that ain't?" Both men concentrated, to ease the boredom. It was hard to see through the misted window because here the street lights had long since been smashed. Despite this they both saw a figure walking quickly past a derelict chippy. "Fuck me, it's the Fonz." "Aim the van at him," yelped Daryl, hammering the dash. Already on it, Treacle buried the throttle and swung the wheel. When the vehicle eventually responded it pointed at the pavement and the pedestrian froze, shielding his face against the full beams. Treacle dropped a cog. Daryl opened his door as the engine promised violence, and started throwing empties at his target. Speed magnified the boy, his features becoming clearer. Daryl had been patient enough, and jumped from the moving van as the figure legged it. Although he hit the pavement hard, his blooded forehead hardly impeded his vision at all. Admittedly something was up with his ankle, but animal instinct overrode the flapping foot. As Daryl got up he heard an explosion that suggested your place or Brian had halted the van safely. In a blur of fist and knee Daryl sprinted, head bobbing like a pigeon, until he tackled Ryan Earnshaw to the cold tarmac. They struggled, all grunts and gasps, a surviving headlight picking them out in the black night. Straddling Ryan's chest, Daryl put a thumb in his victim's eyes to quieten him. Surprisingly this livened the bitch up, so he stuck a knee on each bicep, his crotch beneath the boy's chin, for maximum control. "What did I tell you?" he boomed. "What did I tell you up Wixom Park? You're about to pay a high price for lying to your Uncle Daryl, you little mung. I'm gonna give you some meth in to show that slutty sister of yours." "I ain't being funny, Daryl," wheezed Treacle, arriving like a second-class letter. "But Chelsea probably gave him a hand job. To keep him quiet like." "What? Is that true?" yelled Daryl with a look of disgust. Knowing that Chelsea would jack her stepbrother off, just to get at him, he forced his fingers into Ryan's clenched mouth to try and make him puke up. "Fuck me, Treacle, the cunt just bit me." He laughed as blood trickled over his knuckle. Ryan was suffocating, but somehow managed. "Please lads, I ain't done nothing to you. I didn't know about Tomo. Me sis don't tell me nothing. She hates me guts. Like everybody does. Please just fuck off." "Ain't done nothing?" replied Treacle, mimicking Ryan's dysphasic voice. "Bollocks you ain't. You only didn't tell Uncle Daryl that his bird was shagging Tomo. Like we told ya. You ain't denying that, are ya? It's no use blubbering now, Ryan. The damage is done. She's damaged goods. And soon you will be too. As a warning of what I'm gonna do to her when I find her." Daryl's word selection was unusually difficult because he was busy cracking Ryan's greasy skull on the concrete. Ryan's fists flailed, and he tried to butt Daryl off. "Strap his legs up, you useless nonce," ordered Daryl. "He's starting to piss me off." "All right, man, but make it quick this time. If I get pinched, then I'll be banged up after what I did to that traffic warden." "Shut the fuck up about that traffic warden and get the boy's pants down." Daryl whirled round and stared until his sidekick sacrificed his fag, dropped to his knees, and unbuckled Ryan's belt. "Get his pants off. Now." Ryan had started banging his own head on the pavement, like he was fitting, or trying to knock himself out. Terror cracked his face. A police siren wailed somewhere. An occasional taxi, full of boozers, sped past. Unfazed, Daryl lowered his head and whispered, "Nobody's gonna save you, boy. I'm gonna stripe you." "What about his underpants?" "Them and all, Treacle. Get 'em off." Daryl twisted round again to get a good eyeful as Treacle tugged Ryan's underpants round his ankles. Showing initiative, Treacle unexpectedly clenched his fist and slammed his finger jewelry into the lad's testicles. Getting the giggles, an inspired Daryl shouted, "Get me Jigsaw, Treacle. Get me Jigsaw. We've got to give him something to show Chelsea." Frustrated, Treacle fisted Ryan thrice more before getting up awkwardly to find the tool. Alone with Ryan, Daryl pulled out the boy's hearing aid and spoke into it. "You tell Chelsea that what I do to you is because of her. That I'm gonna blind her. Then I'm gonna cripple Tomo. And cut your mum up." Curiously, Ryan just lay, crying. With an arousing sense of power, Daryl reached back and fingered Ryan's soft penis. To humiliate him, he stroked it gently, albeit with a manly tempo, as each man's head shook side to side. "So you like it?" purred Daryl, pleased with the effect he was having on his unwilling partner, noticing that his palm was becoming wet. "Is this how Chelsea does it?" "I've only got a nail gun," shouted Treacle from the van. "Well, fucking bring it, you bald cunt," shouted Daryl over the house martins who were singing Happy Hour on the resilient radio. Then, confiding in Ryan, he whispered, "Christ, Ryan, he's a dumb bastard, ain't he? And I'm sorry about all this, but you give me no choice." He wiped blood off his face, pulled Ryan's eyelid open, and using the claret carefully polished each eyeball with a squeaking noise. Then he punched Ryan's mouth, bursting his lips. Treacle returned and swapped places with his friend once he'd finished cackling and pointing at Ryan's aroused groin. "Have a tug if you want," offered Daryl hospitably, positioning himself on all fours between Ryan's knees. He remembered the contests they'd had near the bins at school, the objective being to ejaculate the first, the furthest or the most. He remembered how selfish Treacle had been, always refusing to drop his trousers properly, or touch another boy, even though the look in his eyes hinted that he wanted to. "Get stuffed, you bender," replied Treacle predictably whilst jamming Ryan's hearing aid into the lad's bloody mouth. "Go on, eat it, you butt-fucker." Daryl was slightly angry. Not because Treacle had lost the jigsaw, or been rude about Chelsea, or because he hated himself. The reason was that he suddenly wanted to use his mouth on Ryan, and didn't want Treacle to see. Instead, he pressed the nail gun against Ryan's engorged shaft and squeezed the trigger. Through a fountain of red he yelled, "Tell your sister she's next."